Welcome to another evidence recording session, 24th of January 2017, 6:02 AM. So I bring to the log's attention in regards to the Trojans that have been deployed on my system for some time now. Now I've been building them up, and we now have a huge long list that I've put in quarantine that is for your viewing pleasure. So, as you can see on the third one down, that goes into the app data and the temporary files. You can see there where they've parted the volume. And that's where they've deployed one of the Trojans. Now, as you can see, obviously Pack Cobra is quite a familiar one. Just bear with me. So I want you to notice the difference to the generic Trojans that have been deployed normally and to the ones that have gone through the apps. In other words, it's basically gone through an app which has been stored in my temporary files, really. Now notice the difference between, say for example, that one there and these two here. Now obviously you can see a change there in the registry settings. Through that file there. Now, blaming Trojans can be blamed more or less on anybody. But what you can do is you can trace, and I mean this, you can actually trace where Trojans really start out. They have a starting base, and people use them all the time. So there's a reason I've not purged these Trojans on purpose, because I think to keep them in quarantine actually sits as forensic evidence to show each time you've more or less been attacked by bad players. Now, as I said, I don't believe in a million years that every time that one of thousands of people around the planet download GMER, receive a Trojan. I just don't believe they're that reckless in their coding. I really don't believe that. I don't know. Maybe somebody may be able to say, yeah, every time somebody downloads GMER, they receive a Trojan. I don't believe that. I believe these Trojans have been injected via remote command every time it's happened. In other words, what it does is, what they're doing is they're injecting the Trojans to dismantle when GMER is used. So I can't see, and you can't see, certain files in regards to the remote commands and in regards to the remote covert dominance that they've got on my hard drive at the minute. Now obviously if law enforcement, let's just say for the City of London Police or the Metropolitan Police were at all interested in not U-turning or B-turning or C-turning or F-filming or whichever way they want to look at it, they could actually go and ask GCHQ where these Trojans have come from. They have the ability in their investigatory techniques. They have the powers to ask. If they're denied, then obviously they're denied access for a reason. But what I did notice yesterday is when I was using GMER, before I turned the machine off, there was updates being installed via the patch that's been happening on one of the partitions of my hard drive. There was updates. In other words, what was happening is somebody by remote was basically uploading a now when they repair things, they will classify it, or it will look like it's an update. An update basically really is a posh word for patch. And when the patching things up, it's because there's been a break in your in the frontier of your defences, which is where the code has been injected in. Now, the Trojans, if obviously when this drive comes for analysis, you'll see who injected the Trojans. Well, you will. You'll see where that's come from. So I think it's extremely important to not purge this evidence. I think it's important to keep a hold of it, which is what I have. Now, in the past 10 minutes, there's been another attack, and this time you can't blame it on me downloading GMER. You can't blame it on any downloads, because all I've been doing is just sitting here watching BBC on one television and watching my computer on the other, nowhere near the mouse, nowhere near the keyboard, and then all of a sudden, boom, we have another attack. Now, what I've noticed recently is that it only gets quarantined when I actually go to download something, meaning there's been a defense on one of the partitions for some time now. In other words, one hacker has been keeping a whole host of other hackers out. Now, obviously, your computer registers every time you touch your mouse, and you go near your keyboard, and you download something, obviously. But this time, no in the mouse, and we have an attack within the past 10 minutes, whatever it was. So this file here, zone-like downloads 9bt733ys.exe, my computer's just registered that. In other words, computers don't delay in things. It's not the way electronics works. In other words, if you do it, it's instant, it's there. Well, I was nowhere near my computer, I was nowhere near my mouse, and up popped the quarantine warning. Which means somebody by remote, as we speak now, has injected malicious code into the remote the copy they've got on their hard drive. And the reason I'm doing this recording is because I was nowhere near the mouse or the keyboard, and up that popped. So, in terms of pop-ups, and in terms of attacks to my browser and so forth, now if I'm nowhere near my browser, then somebody's done it within the past 10 minutes. It's either that, or whoever has root command on my hard drive has done what they've done maybe when I first turned the machine on this morning, or they did it yesterday, and they're only now releasing it onto my system via their root command control, which could be a strong case, which could be what they've done, and which is why, could explain, it's just appeared out of nowhere. So the file 9bt, so if we just go in there and we go into downloads. Now, as you can see there, put in all downloads, and we go back into that. You see? You see that? Now, that's the last download that's just come onto my system. Not onto my system. The latest quarantine. I mean, what's really shitty about this system is that other systems, they register the date and the time, and that would be excellent if we could see that. But this system, for some reason, does not show that. But that's what's just hit my system right now. And as you can see, it matches the file 9bt733ys.exe, and as you can see down the bottom there, that's just the last one to hit my system within the past few minutes. Well, as you can see there, on my downloads, it says it was yesterday. It said it was yesterday. And yet, I just received that now in terms of a quarantine attack. In terms of an attack, which is already quarantined. Meaning, what they've done is, the patch the upload that they did yesterday via GMER, in terms of the upload, because I turned the computer off halfway through. My system's been on for something like an hour or whatever it is, but it's just come up the past few minutes. Well, your computer doesn't work like that. In other words, if there's an attack, it tells you about it instantly, proving that the attack that's just come over the past few minutes has externally come in over the past few minutes. But yet my system is informing you, is telling you, that that file that it's just blocked was downloaded yesterday. Now the system itself records the attack instantly. In other words, if it happens, it quarantines and it tells you instantly. Immediately. There's no delay, there's no anything. Electronics doesn't work like that. There's no favours when it comes to computer chips. There's no like, I'll tell you later, that shit. So, this is a real momentous moment here, because what this does is, in terms of timeline and the introduction of attacks, if you're wondering why they've done it now is because when the machine was turned off yesterday and they were trying to upload the update, which really is a patch to try and cover their own hideous evil and their own hideous attacks and mistakes, what they've done is, because the machine was turned off halfway through, and this will be proved via the entries, they'll be able to prove that the machine was turned off halfway through, so they couldn't basically get that patch in. What they've done is now, is by remote, is my system has picked up on, because it obviously shares root command but doesn't have root command control. What it's done is it's ticked up as basically there's been an attack on your system. So what they've done is they've introduced it now silently, stealthily, without me being anywhere near the keyboard or the mouse, and say, look, you've just been attacked. Well, we could clearly see I've not just been attacked, because the file that you're seeing on the there, 9bt733ys.exe, was downloaded yesterday and not within the past few minutes, proving 1,000,000,000% that the patch that they were doing yesterday in terms of the upload to try and cover their mistakes. They've reintroduced it over the internet today, silently, and tried to get it onto my system, proving it will cover the patch from yesterday's attack, of which I undoubtedly 100% proved. So they're in a little bit of a shit there, really, aren't they? Now, so you can see there that undoubtedly it won't let me. Oh, here we are. Now, if I was to purge that now, I'd lose the evidence, because they basically patched that up and they could destroy their hard drive physically, their end, and say, what are you talking about? So now if it sits within quarantine on my copy, in other words on my system, if I restore it, what that will do is that'll introduce their patch. Therefore, it will look like, what are you talking about? What happened? Where's it gone? Just like magic, disappeared. But what provides beautiful evidence for investigators here is the timeline introduction of the deployment of the Trojan of what my system is receiving it now today, and what was actually downloaded yesterday, because the program itself, the one that I've got here, quarantines it as the attack happens. It doesn't do favours, it doesn't do buybacks, it doesn't do refunds, it doesn't do a delay. What it does is it stops the quarantine, it stops the attack, and then quarantines it instantly. So if that's just happened within the past few minutes, that can only mean a deployment via the root command to try and patch up for their